What is one word we could use to describe the feeling of social anxiety? Overwhelming, to say the least. Whether you're at a party, at an event, walking down the street, or having a conversation with someone, we can all agree social anxiety is one of the most frightening and debilitating experiences. Every social cue is coming at you at once. You have no idea what to say or what to do with yourself, and you just want the world to open up and swallow you whole. But in my experience, there are two incredibly simple and useful things you can learn straight away to defeat social anxiety. Drum roll please, someone. Anyone. Don't worry bro, I got you. Thanks Enrique. I need to leave the house more. Number one, the physiological sigh, and number two, setting intentions. This is the bottom line of social anxiety. You feel overwhelmed when socially anxious because everything you perceive becomes important. For example, other people's body language. Oh no, he's frowning. Is he mad at me? Their tone of voice. Oh no, they're mocking me. They can see how stupid I look. Or the words that other people use or don't use. Oh God, they're not speaking to me. They can see how much of a loser I am. Now, although they seemed a little bit silly, and I'm not highlighting these examples to take the mick out of social anxiety, it's a horrible thing to deal with. I dealt with it for many years. What you might have noticed in these examples is an internal focus. In other words, how am I coming across? How are other people perceiving me? So the solution to overcoming social anxiety is a two-pronged approach. You need something that's going to physiologically calm you down, and then you need something that is going to shift your focus from internal to external. And this is where these two come in. The physiological sigh is a simple breathing technique whereby you inhale twice, but then you exhale for longer. For example, but why would that calm you down? Well, when you think about the state you're in physically when you feel anxious, you think the anxious thought, you then inhale more than you exhale, meaning your heart rate is increased, all of which perpetuates the self-fulfilling cycle of anxiety, and you begin to think the way you're feeling and feel the way you're thinking. But as soon as you start to exhale longer than you inhale, you signal to your brain and your heart that you're not under attack and you're in a calm state, and you can now calm down. Decreased heart rate, decreased anxiety. So you can do the physiological sigh if you're walking towards an event that is sparking your anxiety, or before a conversation. You can do a sequence of 5 to 10 physiological sighs, remember? But if that sounds a little bit too loud to you and you're during a conversation, then you can just remember to exhale longer than you inhale. If you're talking to someone and you're listening, use it as an opportunity to regain your breath. That was nice, I just stared into the distance. Now when it comes to setting intentions, think about them in the same way as a darts player will fix their gaze on the point on the dartboard that they want their dart to hit, and they will ignore everything else. It cuts through the overwhelm of everything bombarding your attention when you feel socially anxious, so you can focus on one thing. A social target might be make one person feel as comfortable as possible. Find out one fact about someone new. Target intention, same word, I just realised I used a different word. Hold eye contact with one stranger for 5 seconds. Have one conversation with someone about something they're interested in. Look at the venue for 30 seconds from the outside. Now the cool thing with setting intentions is no one has to know what your social intention is. It can be as big or as small as you want it to be. So don't feel embarrassed or silly for setting a very small intention if something is making you incredibly anxious. You can imagine in this last example, let's imagine that there's an activity you want to go to, jiu-jitsu or salsa dancing or Toastmasters, what have you, and it's every Wednesday, but you feel terrified of the thought of going in there. Well, your first social intention is just go stand outside the venue for 30 seconds and have a look at it. That's the intention. To give you a personal example of setting an intention, 2 years ago I was living in Bristol with my cousin Brandon, and when we arrived there we didn't know too many people, so in order to make some friends we would go out of an evening to some pubs and some clubs sometimes, and the thought of going out to meet people and make friends was very daunting, and I used to feel very anxious walking towards the town thinking, oh, I'm a bit excited but I don't really know what we're going here for. There was overwhelm. So we used to set the intention of We're just going to go out into the town and have one conversation with someone we've never met before. And each time we went out into the town with that intention, we had a great night and we always had an interesting conversation with someone. But why does setting intentions work? It's because us humans are goal-setting creatures. All of the emotions you and I feel throughout life are the direct result of us either progressing or not progressing towards a goal, regardless of whether we've realised we've set a goal or not. In other words, if you feel positive emotion, take that as feedback to mean you're progressing towards a goal. If you feel negative emotion, take that as feedback to mean you're not progressing towards a goal. But most importantly, setting goals helps us focus. When you set a social intention, otherwise known as a social goal, a part of your brain called the reticular activating system helps you lock in on achieving that goal whilst ignoring everything else. So your brain already has a system in place to help you cut through the noise of the social anxiety overwhelm and to focus. Better yet, when you achieve your social intention, remember, no matter how big or small it is, when you achieve it, you feel a flood of feel-good chemicals. You feel the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins, the positive feedback, the positive emotions, and you feel accomplished with yourself, which sets you up for something I've called abundance socializing, whereby you set your intention, you then achieve it, you feel the flood of feel-good chemicals, you feel accomplished with yourself, so now any socializing you do from now on is a pure bonus. Not to mention you're going to be carrying yourself with a fresh form of confidence. So that's why social intentions work. You can set your social intention before you socialize or during. Remember, it doesn't matter how big or small, how fantastical or how silly the social intention seems. No one has to know what it is, it's just for you to give yourself that target to aim at so all of the noise turns down around you. But we've covered the physiological side now and setting intentions, but you might be thinking, okay, great Lewis, that's brilliant to help me manage my social anxiety, but when it comes to opening my mouth or starting a conversation, I have no idea of what to say. Well, we're going to finalise the video now with 3 things that are going to help you. 3 things? Yes, 3 things. Breaking the ice with someone you've just met is hard, let alone with someone you already know. What do I say? What do I ask them? Should I just talk about the weather? But here's something, speaking of the weather, just quick, little flex. Sunny, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, I had to do that. But here's something very fun that will get your foot in the door. Go up to someone, compliment them on something they're wearing, and then ask, what's the story behind it? For example, I like your hat. What's the story behind it? The bigger picture here is we know that stories have a strong emotional effect on people. So by asking someone this question, they've probably never been asked this question ever before in their life, so it's bound to be memorable from the get-go, but you get this person to relive their positive associations with this thing that they're wearing. After all, they've chosen to wear it, so it's bound to have a personal significance for them. But better yet, by asking someone this question, you encourage them to give a more than detailed than usual answer, which will then give you plenty of conversational material to work with. But if the idea of complimenting someone is a bit like, don't really want to do that, Lewis, any other options? Then just ask someone a generic opening question, but then follow up. Don't worry about asking people generic questions like, where are you from? Or long day at work? Or how are you? Because an easy way to deepen your social skills and initiate conversations with confidence and to build conversational momentum is to see the utility in generic questions. The importance here in these examples isn't the first question, it's the follow-up. The depth of conversations is in the follow-ups, and the depth of the connections you build with other people is in the follow-ups. First question, where are you from? That's not that important, we're just getting started. Follow-up, what was it like growing up there? Couldn't read my writing. First question, long day at work? Follow-up, what is it you like about what you do? Some food for thought there. Point number 2. Second to last point. Don't complicate convos. They're simple. He says, after making 2 billion videos on them. Number 2, give them material. Last year I spent a day with my dad in a town off the Kent coast in the UK called Rye. We'd spent the whole day going around the seaside town socialising, but we were really hungry, so we stopped off in Rye to eat at this burger restaurant. So we finished our food, left the restaurant, walked out into the pitch black streets of Rye to check out some of the shops before heading home. So we walked around some of the shops, but with each shop I went in, I couldn't be bothered to have any more conversations about, how are you? Good, you? Where are you from? And all of that stuff. The standard small talk that I was saying is good in the last part. But there was one shop I wanted to check out before we went back home. It was in the distance and it was an old antique shop. So we started walking towards the shop, but I felt even more socially exhausted with the thought in my mind of people in these shops are usually very informal, chatty, and they're always up for a conversation. I don't think I have it in me to start a conversation in this shop. But anyway, without thinking about it, I walked into the shop, I saw the man behind the counter who was clearly the owner, and he turned and looked at me and said, "Hiya, how are you?" And without thinking about it, I said, "Oh, good thanks, we've just been to a burger restaurant around the corner. It was actually really nice, I didn't know there was such good burger restaurants in Rye." Cut to 45 minutes later and I'm still stood in the antique shop having a conversation with this man. And a light bulb switched in my brain. The bottom line here is, when someone asks you a generic question like, how are you, where are you from, or what have you been up to today? They ask the question, but then they secretly say to themselves in their head, oh my God, please give me more than a one-word answer so we can actually have a deeper conversation beyond just shallow nonsense. Consider this the next time someone asks you a generic question, and you might respond along the lines of, they ask you, how are you? Oh, good, thanks. Go a bit further. But my legs are a bit tired because I was at the gym yesterday. See how that gives them more material to work with? Where are you from? I'm from the UK. But in an ideal world, I would like to be living in Mexico right now. Last one. What have you been up to today? Not much really. Just going to leave it there. No, not much really. But to be fair, I am looking forward for next weekend though, because I'm going to Italy. So consider that the next time someone asks you something generic and simple. Give them a little bit more material than usual to work with. Make them glad they asked you the question. Finally, number 3. Tell people you feel anxious. Why not? Vulnerability is what happens before all of the good things in life. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you notice you stumble over your words or your hand is shaking as you go to shake their hand, kindly let the other person know, sorry, I feel a bit nervous. And what that will do is it will build a bridge of connection between you both. And most importantly, by you expressing your vulnerability, you invite that vulnerability out in other people and you offer them the opportunity to realise, oh, this is a human being in front of me. A human being I can connect with. And this bravado I'm putting on of masking my social anxiety and nervousness, I know I don't need to put this bravado on anymore. Because I know other people are struggling with this as well. The insecurities that you embrace no longer become insecurities. Today's philosophical hot take. In summary. Social anxiety arises due to overwhelm, so the best way to overcome it is, first of all, calm your physiology down by doing a physiological sigh, exhale longer than you inhale. Number 2, set intentions when you socialise, no matter how big or small those intentions are, to get yourself into that abundance socialising. To start conversations, ask, what's the story behind it? After you compliment someone on something they're wearing. If not, just ask a generic question and then follow up. If someone is asking you a generic question, make sure that you give them more material to work with so they can follow up after you respond. And if you'd like one last thing to do, tell people you feel anxious, to invite that reciprocal vulnerability and build that bridge of connection. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Stay disciplined, playful and dangerous. Shouts out to the sun for shining in the UK. Adios muchachos y muchachas. Adios muchachos y muchachas.